We've paired our strategic plan with something called the Street Design Manual. How many of you are familiar with the Street Design Manual? Oh, that's great. Well, all of you could be giving this talk here this morning. Well, as you know, we've designed a new operating code for the streets of New York. And we've worked for 2 years with all 11 city agencies that have anything to do with the streets. And what we've done is embodied all of the new designs, codified it into this new street design manual. So that will ensure that going forward, no matter who's the mayor, no matter who's the transportation commissioner, no matter who's the chief architect for New York City, this is the path forward. So with clear goals in hand, we're really on a mission to implement these projects and these promises. I think probably the biggest innovation that we've got going at New York City DOT was transforming the agency into a fast-acting transportation agency. That is not an oxymoron, fast-acting transportation agency. And I think that a lot of the good reception that we're getting from the public has to do with the fact that we are implementing these projects relatively quickly. So we're bringing the reality of a greener city to New Yorkers so they can see, touch, and feel these projects and what they mean. And I think that New Yorkers especially are tired of projects that take years and even decades to implement. Our Plaza program really has been largely done with paint, planters, and leftover blocks from some of our bridge projects. I want to underscore that our capital program will eventually catch up with attractive, durable materials, much of which you see in the street design manual. But for now, outline the kind of city that we want to see, we think is extremely important. And so we're actually able to take this space, reclaim it, and repurpose it almost overnight. That's not to say there's not a tremendous amount of traffic planning, and analysis, and community consultation that's done. But when we make major changes to Broadway, when we double our bike network, for us, the implementation after that consultation follows very, very quickly. So we've really shifted the city's approach to streets from one that looks at them as just these utilitarian corridors, focusing on getting cars to move as quickly as possible from point A to point B, to one that treats streets as the valuable public space that they really are, and recognizing that our streets serve a variety of roles. They serve as public transit corridors, they serve as places of social exchange, of economic exchange, and so what we're doing is we've now taken this new approach, and after refining the approach with some of the smaller projects that we did in 2007 and 2008, we brought the Plaza program to a larger scale in 2008 and transformed 8 blocks of Broadway in Midtown and really replaced a general travel lane, which you can see there where the epoxy gravel plaza is, replaced it with the plaza and a protected bike lane. So we've got a series of linear plazas now for 8 blocks in Midtown. We also took, and you can see the results right there, we also took one of the worst expanses of asphalt in the city. It had one of the largest crossings, like over a football field wide in Madison Square, and transformed it to a series of plazas that offer great views of some of the incredible iconic architecture that's the hallmark of New York. These projects served as great trial runs for a larger corridor project that Mayor Bloomberg announced last winter, and we just completed in August. And it now transforms Broadway from 59th Street all the way down to 23rd Street. And this is the transformation in Herald Square. The project itself takes advantage of the fact that, in 1812, when the traffic commissioners laid out the street grid system for New York City, it was a very straightforward grid. They left one street that cut diagonally through that grid, and that was Broadway. So this is really a problem. Broadway's done some great things. It's created, at the intersection points, great plaza areas. But it also has been a nightmare for traffic engineers for the last 200 years, or however long there have been traffic engineers. I don't know how long there have been traffic engineers. But it's been a problem that's been hidden in plain sight for those many years. And so what we were able to do was take a larger view. It wasn't a matter of designing more slip lanes or changing some of the traffic signalization. We really needed to take a bigger look and take a look at the fact that if we took Broadway out of the system and reconnected the grid, some wonderful things could happen. And so what we did is we reclaimed that space, some 3 acres now of public space for pedestrians. In Times Square, there are 356,000 people that go through that space each and every day. And yet, 90% of the street space was allocated to cars, whereas only 10% of that space was was used in terms of the volumes that were there. So this is the effect that we've seen in Times Square. You'll note a lot of this was done with temporary materials. You can see the lovely polka dots over there. You can barely see them, but when I was in Copenhagen with actually Alex and Amanda Burden, I was amazed at how quickly they were able to create beautiful spaces. And I love the little polka dots, and they had them all over their bike lanes, and so we've got now our own version of the polka dots here. The corridor itself is functioning really, really well. It's not a through street now. Traffic is starting to understand that this is a local access street. They're using 7th Avenue, and the early results are promising. It looks like traffic is moving better on 7th Avenue and much better on 6th Avenue. Where we've made the changes on 34th Street, because we've been able to allocate the time that was usually given to Broadway now to the cross street at 34th Street and also on 6th Avenue. So you can see this is the corridor right there. It's been really well embraced, I think, by the folks that live, work, and play there. I remember when we announced it, we were out with a reporter who will remain nameless, and the reporter was interviewing people, and there was this heavyset guy with bag of food, and he was saying, "I'm not going to eat my tuna fish sandwich next to all this traffic. I don't want my tuna fish sandwich laced with carbon monoxide." And I said, "Well, you know, they do that in London, and they do that in Paris, and they do that in lots of cities." It's like, well, it's not going to work here. And about 2 minutes later, the guy is sitting down, happily eating his tuna fish sandwich, and so we're continuing to see, I think, New Yorkers embrace this, even though it wasn't the traditional way that we take a look at our streets.